Meanwhile, Prince Harry has reportedly become more distant than ever from his father, King Charles. What do we know about the current state of their relationship?
Look, this was quite a sad update. I mean, there was reports this week in the British press that allegedly Harry was learned about King Charles' recent hospital stay from the media. He wasn't notified that his father was in hospital. Of course, King Charles spent several days in hospital earlier this month related to his cancer treatment. That was sad because we know that they are estranged, and I do think that part of that is probably concerns from within the royal family and from King Charles and Queen Camilla about their privacy. You know, we know that when Catherine was going through her cancer treatment last year, they also kept the Sussexes in the dark because they were worried about leaks. And that is not necessarily to suggest that it would be Meghan or Harry leaking, but I do think that they are surrounded by a group of sycophants and publicity people that, you know, maybe inadvertently would reveal something. So
Right.
I think it's a very complicated situation. I don't think it's ideal for either party. I don't think Charles wants to be, estranged from his son, and I don't think Harry wants to be finding out about his family in the press. But it's just the way it has to be. I mean, you know, they made their decision, and
Yes.
this is a very sort of sad example of that.
Absolutely, it is very sad. Denmark's Princess Isabella has made her first public speech as the Danish royal family continues to celebrate her 18th birthday. What can you tell us about this speech?
Yeah, well, Isabella's really kind of, just sort of launched with a bang. She's made her first public speech. She's just turned 18. Actually, she's celebrating her 18th this Easter long weekend, and she is sort of being, prepared for a life as a royal. She will be a working royal. She'll be very much taking on the role of supporting her brother, Christian, when he becomes the King of Denmark. Of course, Isabella is the daughter of Aussie Queen Mary and King Frederick.
Yes.
And she made her first public speech earlier this week, and it was really kind of, positively received. I think in the Danish press, we were looking at some of the Danish media outlets and their coverage, and also in the UK and around the world. And people kind of love her sort of sense of humour. She kind of made there was this funny line at the start of the speech where she referenced kind of this infamous thing that happened a few years ago where, and this is, it happens to the best of us, she was picked up on a microphone kind of having a bit of a tense moment with Mary. And it was this sort of like thing that was hanging over her head for a few years, and people were like, oh, remember that clip of, Isabella snapping at Mary? And then she just sort of said, look, here I am, I'm in front of the microphone. Now I know that the microphone's on.
Now it's on.
Yeah.
So she'll still have a go at her mum.
But, people love that. I think she just sort of, what a masterstroke to just sort of get ahead of it, have a bit of a joke. And, the Danes love that. So,
And at
happy
18,
birthday.
what a big future ahead of her. Riley Sullivan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Royal Sussex Squad, your home for truth, loyalty and unapologetic support for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Today we dive into yet another disturbing revelation from the palace. Once again, Prince Harry, King Charles's own son, was left in the dark. This time about a serious hospital stay related to the King's cancer treatment. Yes, Harry reportedly found out through the media, not from a phone call, not from a message, but from public headlines. And we're supposed to just accept this as normal? It's heartbreaking, calculated, and yet another example of how Harry is constantly vilified by the very institution that failed him and Meghan from the start. So let's talk about the truth behind the headlines. The disgraceful attempts to isolate the Sussexes, and why Harry's decision to break free from this toxic cycle was not only justified, but essential. The latest reports out of the UK paint a grim picture. Harry supposedly found out about his father's hospitalization from news outlets. Let that sink in. We're talking about a son learning about his father's health through strangers, and why. According to palace insiders, it was due to privacy concerns. The royal family, particularly King Charles and Queen Camilla, reportedly didn't inform Harry due to fear of leaks. Think about that. The same institution that has leaked against Harry and Meghan at every turn is now painting them as security risks. The hypocrisy is staggering, and then they try to justify this by hinting that it's not necessarily Harry or Meghan who would leak things, but possibly someone in their circle, some mythical publicist or supporter. That's a weak excuse, and they know it. It's just another tactic in their long campaign to discredit and isolate the Sussexes. Let's be honest, this isn't about leaks. This is about punishment. It's about control. It's about keeping Harry in a permanent state of exclusion, to remind him that he stepped away and now he must suffer the consequences. But here's the thing, they're not just punishing Harry, they're punishing themselves by choosing secrecy and silence over simple humanity. How hard would it have been to inform Harry privately? How difficult is it to pick up the phone? This is a man who flew back to the UK the moment he heard of his father's diagnosis, despite everything, despite being smeared in the press, despite being made a scapegoat for family tensions. Despite everything, Harry showed up. That speaks volumes about who he is. Meanwhile, the institution continues to act like a cold, emotionally vacant machine, more concerned with optics than real relationships. They've replaced love with PR strategy. Let's remember, this isn't the first time Harry and Meghan were left out in the cold. The same thing reportedly happened when Princess Catherine began her cancer treatment. Once again, the Sussexes were not told. Once again, it was privacy. But let's be real. If there were trust issues, it's only because the palace has spent years undermining and scapegoating them publicly. Harry and Meghan have never betrayed anyone's medical privacy. What they have done is speak their truth. They've told the world what life inside the monarchy was really like. And for that, they've been punished, ridiculed, and exiled. Yet they carry on with grace. They continue to use their platform for good. They focus on mental health, children's well-being, and meaningful impact, not meaningless tradition. Let's not forget who benefits from these leaks. The tabloids, the royal rota, the inner circle at the palace who feed just enough scandal to keep the front pages full while keeping their own hands clean. And yet Harry and Meghan, who've stepped back from royal duties, who have no involvement in the day-to-day inner workings, are treated like the main threat. It's manipulation, and it's working, because the public keeps being told that Harry's distance is his fault, but no one's asking why the King of England can't pick up the phone to his son in moments that truly matter. What we're witnessing is the monarchy continuing to protect the firm, not the family. They're invested in preserving a public image, even if it means destroying personal bonds behind closed doors. Meanwhile, Meghan continues to be scapegoated. Every time there's a new rift, fingers are pointed in her direction, even when she's not involved. This obsession with casting her as the villain is rooted in racism, sexism, and old-guard royal elitism that refuses to see a strong, accomplished, biracial American woman as anything but a threat. But let's be clear, Meghan didn't isolate the royals, they isolated themselves, and Harry didn't abandon his family. He chose a new one that puts peace, mental health, and mutual respect first. The royal media machine will keep spinning tales. They'll say, this is just how it is, but it's not how it has to be. A father ignoring his son during a health crisis isn't tradition, it's dysfunction. This moment should have been an opportunity for healing, a private gesture, a reconnection. Instead, it became another cold, calculated act of exclusion. And it confirms what many of us already know: Harry is better off free from this cycle. So, once again, we see the truth laid bare. Harry and Meghan are not the problem. They are the result of a broken system that values image over intimacy and control over connection. Here on Royal Sussex Squad, we will always speak the truth, lift up Harry and Meghan's courage, and call out the cruelty coming from behind palace walls. The world needs to hear this side of the story, the one the tabloids won't tell. If you stand with Harry and Meghan, if you believe in justice, empathy, and truth-telling, make sure you subscribe, drop a like, and leave a super thanks to support the work we do here. This platform is about truth, empowerment, and standing tall against the smear machine. Until next time, stay strong, stay kind, and stay royal. Sussex style.